This conference will now be recorded.
A very good morning, one and all present here. On behalf of Lala Institute of Technology, I am very happy to welcome all the participants from various institutions for the webinar Robotic Process Automation. Today, our resource person is Mr. George Francis. We are very happy to welcome you for webinar and thanks for accepting our invitation and being here for this webinar. It is my pleasure to introduce our resource person, Mr. George Francis. Currently, he is working as a senior robotic research engineer at Dyson, United Kingdom. He is dynamic and result-oriented professional, around 14 years of rich experience in end-to-end architecture of delivery, solution, software development, software analysis, and team management. He fascinates to innovate and automate ideas and concepts that have a positive impact in the organization and leverage them to global fortune customers. He is an effective communicator with excellent relationship building and interpersonal skills, strong analytical, problem solving, and organizational abilities. He has a certification in Agile Software Development, Certified DevOps Practitioner, and AWS Certified Solution Architect. He worked in various prominent companies with maximum work experience in Cognizant and played a different role such as senior developer, technical specialist, solution specialist, solution architect, and cloud migration architect. He led the migration of UK largest telco provider platform and applications from the data center to a hybrid cloud model. He worked as a transformation architect to propose and implement various service improvement proposals for one of leading mobile operator in UK. Once again, I welcome you, sir. Dear participants, kindly follow the instructions which is available in the chat box, such as please turn off your video and mute your microphone during the session. Post your questions in chat box and answer will be delivered at the end of the session. Feedback link will be posted at the end of the session. On behalf of Lala Institute of Technology, once again, I welcome you all for this wonderful session. Surely the session will be more informative and lively. So I hand over the session to our resource person. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Diana.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. We can able to view.
Thank you, ma'am. Is the audio clear as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. First of all, I thank God for this opportunity and I welcome you all for this virtual session. So during this pandemic, we are all affected, but this is an opportunity. I thank God where virtually connect to the students and staffs of one of the college. I feel really blessed to have this opportunity. Thanks a lot, first of all. And so as ma'am said, so I'm working, I have overall 16 years of experience, out of which 14 years in Cognizant. And I've recently joined as a robotic research engineer, part of a robotic organization in UK. And in short, I played various roles in IT, like being a software developer, solution designer, and then cloud migration architect. I find it from my work experience because the industry is changing. So I find it, mainly I've chosen this topic is because this is one of the easily learnable skill where you can add it to your resume and would add value in your job searching. So mainly I chosen this because This is what the industry is now demanding. So moving on to the key takeaway from this session would be where industry is heading to. Automation is the buzzword of 2020. What is RPA? Need for automation, type of RPA, how RPA works, IoT architecture and RPA, and then opportunities for RPA, like what all could be automated using RPA, then key benefits of IT process automation, RPA impacts on people and jobs, and RPA software tools, RPA skills and responsibility of RPA developers. So moving on to where industry is heading to. So let me give you, because some of you may be a student, some of you may be a staff or any, but I think I feel to start with to give you what different roles IT organizations are playing. So we all know that there are software development, which IT companies are delivering to customers, and we have software testing, and where set of engineers test the software code and certify, yes, this could be deployed into production. And then we have software support function, where we manage the day-to-day support of those softwares. So let me take an example of Airtel. So Airtel has got their application, so online web application. So this must be developed by one of the company. So in India, it is IBM. IBM is developing softwares for Airtel. So their web application developed by some of IBM's staffs, and then it is tested by some of the IBM's IT staffs. Then on day to day, someone has to monitor whether this site is running fine, whether any issue there, whether the computers hosting these web services are running without any issues. So these are some of the maintenance activities which the industries do. So with the help of RPA, what we are trying to knock out or eradicate is the maintenance activity mainly, because every day these humans has to do some repetitive task. The engineer comes in the morning, go to the website, Airtel website, and see, yeah, it's all running fine, and he do some checks like activating or some buying a sim, something like that. Basic checks he done on the website in order to certify that is running fine for the user. So the dependency here is one of the manual activity a person has to do on a day-to-day activity. So as part of today's session, what I'm going to talk about are repeated activities within the IT functions, what all could be automated by this RPA. So when I say RPA, robotic process automation, like when I say robots, these are, many people think of something with a metal arms and laser eyes, not something that is shown in an Indian movie. So that those are physical robots. But what we are going to talk about here is a virtual robot or a software-based robots. It's the range of a software application that work on any computers. They are specialized branch of RPA. So these are all merely a computer software program that automates a set of manual activities. So that's what, just to give you an overview of what we are going to cover in the next 1 hour. So I've chosen this RPA because it is mainly IT companies oriented and trying to reduce the work in the IT. So think of, think of an manufacturing industry. First of all, now the focus is on IT in order to reduce IT cost, IT production cost and all this. But take an example of 10-15 years back, where some of the manufacturing departments would have suffered a lot with a manual workflow. Because let's take the well-known, because in Tamil Nadu, Sivagasi, we are preparing or we are producing matchboxes. So I've seen the video like 15 years back, the entire functions of producing that matchbox is manual. So you have a person who cut these sticks into small, and then they have a specific machine where they cut it into small and then choose. Then finally they prepare that gum, which they put it into the sticks and then produce. So this entire process is manual. Packing, starting from the initial step until packing and delivering, is manual. So the problem with manual activity always is you have a limit of for your production. You cannot do much. In order to deliver much, you need to have more resources. So then this automated or automation, the revolution come into this manufacturing industry where the start from end, the entire thing was automated. So you give a stick and the wood, and it will be split into number of small sticks, and then the entire process was automated until the packing. So here again, we have a small amount of manual work where people used to jump in and investigate or inspect the different stage of how the machine has produced. So the result is you don't need to bother about the number of people required. You need a reduced human workforce. You don't need a huge workforce for delivering in terms of for high productivity. All you need is more machines. You don't need more humans here. So that is the way the manufacturing industry evolved. Now almost every industry, like let me take in my organization, Dyson. So if you heard of, they recently launched, not recently, 3 years back, they launched a supersonic hair dryer. It's like a hair dryer, but the manufacturing of this hair dryer, they've produced such a way, they call it a supersonic way. It has got many features. It's all physical machines, robot machines doing this, or designing and then developing the motor inside it. So there is no human effort involved. Only human efforts is involved to inspect. So that is how the industries or manufacturing industries are evolved. Now our prime focus today is IT. In IT organization, like I said, there are different functions, but there are two categories of IT organizations. One is product companies, the second is service companies. So product companies are like Microsoft, IBM, Oracle. They have a specialized products, like Microsoft has got their Microsoft softwares, whereas Oracle has got its own databases. Similar. So these product companies have a constant pressure in the market. So we all know Oracle was widely used to databases, but now the containerization and the latest technologies, there are many other databases like MongoDB and many other new databases which are open source, which doesn't have any license, and they constantly develop new features as well. So the companies like Oracle have a pressure in order to add new features into their products in order to survive in the market. So they always go for these artificial intelligence features and adding more and more specific to robotic process automation in their companies. Let me take Microsoft's recent products. Like they suggest you, assume that I have an Outlook where someone is emailing me. So when I reply, when I click the reply button, it's all suggesting me what you can reply, because it's embedded with the robotic process automation inside. It has got the machine learning capability. It actually reads the content and suggests the user of what you could respond. So these are the features these product companies are developing. Now moving back to service company. Service companies are those Cognizant, Infosys, Accenture, and many other companies which actually provide a support function or which provide a service to a customer. So what these companies does is mainly develop softwares and test softwares for customers, and then they do the supporting of their softwares as well. So that is how the companies there. So now moving back to here, why do we need to learn this is because by 2025, about 5 to 7 trillion the global economy will be produced by RPA. So and then it will affect more than 230 million knowledge workers, IT and IT functions. And Gartner, the organization which predicts by 2024 IT organizations will reduce operational cost by 30% by automating their repeated activities. So it's important for us to acquire this skill and add as part of our resume. And then moving on to, so in this section, we are going to cover what is RPA, why RPA is needed, and then type of RPA, how RPA works, and then, yeah. So the first thing is the acronym, the robotic process automation, I split into three. Robotic, an entity which is capable of being programmed by a computer for doing a complex tasks. So now we're going to refer this robotic process as in my session as robots or bots, or the new term digital labor. So wherever I'm referring as bots or digital labor, it refers the software robots. And then process, we all know it's a sequence of steps which leads to a meaningful activity. So when you follow those steps, you get a desired output. And then automation, when anything happens automatically without any human intervention, we call that as an automation. So put it together, these three words together, it's like RPA refers to process of automating set of tasks or a process with the help of robots or a software to reduce human interaction. So what kind of manual activities this RPA would focus and reduce in IT mainly? So like I said, IT, different teams and different functions are there, but let's take what manual activities are in IT. So application configuration. So whenever this application undergoing a changes, you go ahead and apply set of configurations, and then you have data entry. So there is a function which collects data and then feed it into databases. Then another manual activity I could think of is customer service request. So if you're servicing customer, so there is a queries from customer about their products or issues with their apps or anything. So those are all some of the manual activity which the IT engineers are doing it. So our main focus will be to automate these using RPA, and these RPA shall be designed based on set of rules, and then it shall also have included with the machine learning capabilities which will suggest the user based on unknown conditions. And then moving on to so why RPA? So data driven process are still manually completed in IT. Like I said, what we covered is set of manual activities still being covered as a manual activity. And IT teams are not agile to meet customer demands. Companies struggle to maintain multiple teams, creating redundancy. So we have applications, but if this not having much of reusability, then you will end up having set of redundant application. You need to have resources to support that. Then manual tasks continue to remain inefficient and inaccurate compared to automated process. Like I said, data entry is a set of repetitive activity which we are wasting our human resources. If this is something could be automated by a machine or a software robot, we can use that human effort for something else. So I have chosen two scenarios mainly. So before moving to these scenarios, let me see how RPA could help in IoT. Yeah, IoT is the Internet of Things. How RPA could help in IoT. Then we'll move on to the different scenarios which mainly based on IoT. So RPA connects the physical world to the digital world. What I mean here is the sensors and data collected from these IoT devices shall be fed to the RPA process, which would then process this data and make it available for the digital world. It can also take decision based on the status of the data. So RPA connects the physical world to the digital world. Then RPA enables the execution of processes around IoT captured data, their integration with systems, and if necessary, the triggering of actions in the systems leading to response in the physical world. So, like I covered it in the first point, it actually connects the digital systems with the physical data, and then it actually takes a call based on the data status. Then the data generated by the IoT connectors or sensors is a good fit for RPA automation, I would say. So in the coming cases, we will see the scenarios where RPA fits in IoT use case. And then RPA makes it easier to inject IoT generated data from sensors and objects into any company's servers or databases or even third-party systems. This combo with the process of automation can thus be achieved without changing the systems or developing a specific connector. So I see RPA as a connector for IoT and the digital world. Yeah. So now moving on to the first scenario, predictive maintenance. So what is mean by predictive maintenance? So in this slide, we are going to cover how, why do we need RPA? So I'm going to explain. So as I mentioned, few steps, there are manual activities in IT systems. We'd like to cover it up. But as part of this, I'm bringing up two scenarios which will give you a more insight of how RPA would fit. So the first thing is predictive maintenance. So I have taken a company like Bosch. You would have heard a manufacturing company, an electronics and engineering company, Bosch. So they deploy RPA. So what they do is they have huge machineries. These machineries produce, different set of tools. Bosch produce any like mechanical tools, electronics tools. So they have a huge machineries which produce the set of uh, products. So a machinery can be validated or serviced or maintained earlier by a human workforce. But now these machines are periodically, tested by an RPA based system. So how it is done? So these machines are now come up with an embedded chip and sensors which collects the data and health of the machinery, and then these data are feed back to the RPA systems or RPA software based systems which receives this data and then prepares a dashboard which shows health of the machinery, and again the alerts the servicing status of each machinery. So the result is we are able to predictively identify defects in these machineries, which makes us to avoid unknown outages in these machines. So think of a situation where these Bosch, they're kind of employing an RPA, which have a huge dashboard in their system showing health of each and every machinery, green, red, and amber. So how easy for the support engineers to look into that machine rather, they go and check all the machines available in order to see their health. So that is the effect of RPA in the predictive maintenance. So we hope you got some understanding where RPA is. So I'll explain you how RPA does that. Now in this section, I'm highlighting you why RPA needed in IoT industries. So predictive maintenance is a good pick, and asset management. And moving on to the next one, smart supply chain. So here the use of connected objects enables data collection on the current stock, quantity, the temperature, transport time for real-time analysis and correlation to customer consumption data. The results of these analytics are used to define control automation scenarios for the purpose of proactive replenishment. So to give you an insight, I have a warehouse where I'm employing some of the sensors, IoT sensors, which will check the stock level in those warehouse and will feed that to my RPA system, a software, to decide whether further stocks are needed for these warehouse to meet customer demands. So earlier this was done manually, but now we have data sensors which are placed on all the warehouses, which collects the stock levels and which also predicts the temperature in the warehouse. And many more real-time data these sensors are collecting and feeding back to my systems. So before RPA, these data are analyzed manually by the engineers, but now we have RPA which actually process these collected data from the data sensors and produce an output or even take a decision. I'll see, for example, in real world, you have a warehouse where the stocks are reducing because people are buying it. So earlier, one manual person has to go and check, yeah, how much stock is there, and then he has to record in the system, yes, this is not available. Now I have a sensor which will notify me as soon as threshold level is low. So my RPA will decide, yes, there are shortage of stock in the particular warehouse. Then it goes and notify the manufacturing uh, unit saying that we need to, uh, this is the current level out of 1/4 of the stock is not available in warehouse. So you need to supply this to the warehouse. So this is entirely done by a system, a software product, which informs the manufacturing units over an email or over SMS notification, who then produce the new set of products and then dispatch to the warehouse. So the entire end-to-end stock validation to the manufacturing, triggering the manufacturing is entirely done automatically by the RPA. So these are the two scenarios I thought will be very helpful in terms of understanding this RPA process for IoT. So mainly the inventory management and asset management, transports, tracking, all these are some of the good pick for RPA implementation within IoT sector. Yeah. So moving on to the next one. So types of RPA. We have two RPA, two types of RPA. One is process automation, which automates a standard set of steps and which avoids a manual intervention. So let's take, if you know, in order to produce or in order to have your desired output, if you have the desired number of steps, so that could be automated using a process automation, a software automation. So the second thing is cognitive automation. So this is more complex RPA, which involves responding to natural languages, human interactions, voice recognitions. So these bots can learn human actions and respond based on how a specific situation can be handled. So in the first type of automation, you decide the set of steps which this software will perform. So anything unknown, it will fail and will pass it to human in the first process automation. Whereas in cognitive automation, you decide the set of rules, it will follow the steps in order to produce that output. If it fails, it's gonna collect the previous occurrences where how human responded to that situation and provide suggestions. And cognitive automation involves mainly human interventions. Like I said, in the process automation, there is no human intervention where as soon as you have a triggering point, your data come in, it processes the data and it produces an output. Whereas cognitive automation, it always interacts with humans. So best example would be chatbots in any of the retail websites. As soon as you log in, it suggests you saying that what you like to, can I help you? It's all some of the software based applications. We call that as bots, which runs at the back end, which serves the customers queries. So it should have the capability to understand customers slang and customers way of questioning and then respond back to the user. So how RPA works, so will be my next focus. So like I said, for RPA to work, there should be a triggering point. So in the IoT example we saw, the triggering point was the data from sensors and IoT devices. So here in this example, I've shown a read email, but put it or replace like sensor data. So assume that in our stock management system or smart supply chain system, as soon as the sensors are sending you there is a low stock notification to the software robots, it actually collects those data and then it processes the data. So it understands what level the stock has gone low. So in a scale of 0 to 100, if the stock level is 68 percentage, so it knows 32 percentage is the stock to be filled with. So that level of information, so the bots or software robots process the data, understand what to do, and then it either pass it to human. If there is a, like in the first scenario which I explained, predictive maintenance, where a machine is faulty, it informs to the human to take care of the machine. And whereas in the supply chain, if it is the if the manufacturing unit is available, receiving emails or notification, our software based RPA architecture, RPA would send a notification, an SMS or an email to that manufacturing unit to fill up 32 percentage of the stock based on the sensor data. So here I can say RPA involves a small amount of humans. Like I said, most of like in any business cases, we strive to achieve 100% automation, but there are situations and cases where we may have some of the activities could not be automated by the software, so we go with a manual action. So in the, of course, predictive maintenance scenario, the servicing or the fault maintenance of the particular machinery has to be done by the user. So the software based robotic process automation is responsible for analyzing the sensor data from each machinery and takes a call and then sends to the user if there is a maintenance required for the machine. So that's how RPA executes. So hope you have some idea on that now. So I would like to see RPA workflow. So like I said, in this software process, the RPA process automation, we have different stages and different components in it. So we call that as I've just grouped into four: the process developers, robot controllers, bots, business users. So process developers is where you define the set of instructions for your software robots. So you publish these instructions to the robot controller. So in the process developers, set of engineers, software engineers, we call them as robotic process automation developers, who design this RPA workflow. So they come up with the business use case, they derive all the steps, they collect the different conditions for each steps, they collect the prerequisite and the post response for each and every step, and they define those process using any of this RPA software. So in market we have 3 or 4 RPA software widely being used. So they choose a particular RPA software to design these steps or to automate these steps, and then they push that steps to the robot controllers. The robot controllers are a component within this robotic process softwares which is responsible for the life cycle of the robot. So you're not going to have one instance. Instead, these robotic controllers will create multiple software instances as and when the load increases. So let's take an example. Um, so like you have sensor data from 10 machineries now in our IoT, and you have your robotic controllers kickstarting 3 robots or a software process to receive this 10 data, and which quickly process in without any delay and then push it to the dashboard or inform to the human about the machineries. So now think that instead of 10 machinery, your company is expanding and you are having hundreds of machines. So what you need to do is, all you need is in the robot controllers increase the number of bots. So at any point of time, in the peak time, earlier it would have started 3 software instances of that robot, but now it would start instead of 3, maybe 30. So these 30 robots, 30 instances of the software bots would kick off in parallel, pick up this data and process it. So resulting in you're not causing any delay as such. So you're processing in real time, you're sending the output in real time. You're not causing any backlog here. So the purpose of robot controllers is to maintain the life cycle of this software robot. So as and when, so assume that there is not much data coming in. So you don't need to have your computational resources wasted by running all these 30 instances of the software. So robot controllers responsible for killing or eradicating the unused software robots and running always the minimal instance. So that's the advantage of having this robot controllers. So again, when a new change is published to the robot controllers, it makes sure rolling out the changes to the robots in a sequential way or without any impact. So without any human intervention. So robot controllers is a critical part of any robotic process workflow which manage the lifestyle of robots or softwares. And then moving on to the critical parts, they perform operations and interact with a wide range of business applications. So these are all set of steps which group together as a software process. What it does is it actually receives the data and follow those sequence steps or parallel steps and produce an output. So it doesn't know it doesn't know how many of such instances should run. It's all maintained by robot controllers. A bot as soon as kickstarted, it will pick up the input data, whether it is from sensor, whether it is from user, or whether it is from an email. It picks up the data and process and executes the set of steps and then produce an output. Then you have business users. These are very critical part, but usually in any good RPA process, they are low in numbers. The business users are human intervention in any of the RPA workflow. So I would say the IT companies are striving to achieve 99% of automation, 1% of manual intervention. But in cases where the IoT industry, there is always 80-20. So 80% of the manual activity could be automated, remaining 20%. Like I said, in a predictive maintenance case, what all is programmed within the chip to collect the health of the machinery can be collected and sent by the sensor. But if any unknown data or unknown scenario, the machine is not responding and sending the data, you need a manual intervention to jump in and fix it. So in IoT industries, I would say now 80-20, but most of the other organizations like telecom based or any other retail websites where IT organizations have achieved 99% of automation using RPA and remaining 1% through the manual activity. Now, just to give you an overview how RPA architecture would look like. So like you say, there are three components here: physical world and digital world. So here the bottom of the diagram shows the physical world, which are merely from sensors, like the car transport management system tracks cars location, whereas like you say, these are all supply chain or any of the physical data sensors which are placed on the real world or the physical world, which collects the data. So like I say, so which collects the data and which actually combine this data in a readable format and which then pass it to our RPA process, which sits in the middle. So like I started off with, RPA is the connector for IoT's physical world and digital world. Like I said, it sits exactly in the middle of interpreting this data collected from sensors and then which decides what to do with the data. So of course I have got a data notification from supply chain system that there is a stock level is low. So what should I do? I need to first understand the data, store it in the structured format, and then perform set of activities. Like if there is a supply chain use case, if there is a low supply, I need to inform to the manufacturing unit. If there is a high supply, the 100% supply is still there, and it is not below the threshold 80 which I configured, I don't need to do any action. So RPA just ignore the alerts. So that is how the RPA decides. What do I need? In what case I need to involve human? So what are all the applications in the systems which I need to update with this data? So supply chain or predictive maintenance, every data collected from the sensor first have to be tracked in the database. So all the company's systems, so the top flow, we call that as information systems. Those are all the applications maintained within the organization which maintains the data collected from the sensors. So RPA is responsible for collecting or interpreting this sensor data and make it understandable to the other applications running in the organization. So result is we reduce almost a human activity here. So earlier the sensor data was collected by humans, understand by humans, and they go on each systems and key in what is the status of each of the machine or what status of each of the stock level. But now we have an RPA sits, a software-based RPA sits in the middle as a connector in order to connect this real world to the digital world. So that is how a good RPA architecture would look like. So I've given some insights of what in each layer performs. So moving on to the next one. So before discussing much about the benefit, I thought let me cover what is needed to design a good RPA. So you need to collect all the data in a single location. So you may have hundreds or thousands of sensors. So it is not a good idea for your RPA go and pick up all these from different systems. So that's not going to work out. The best design would be place all the data from different sensors in a common place where your RPA can easily pick up. So this would reduce the overall RPA life cycle time. And then as soon as the data available by the sensor, it may be in a raw format. It may not be in an Excel format, or it may not something in human readable form, isn't it? So the machine status may have some codes for each fault. The embedded systems will give you a code, error code, but that is not something a human would understand. So the RPAs first, a good RPA should extract this data and make it human readable and present it in the system, and then arrive always at the optimized business process steps. So what I mean by here is when you design an RPA, you make sure you are having optimized steps in the flow. It's not like you have hundreds or 200s of steps. So the result is you need to invest more in terms of testing to make sure your RPA is not broken, and it always going to take long time. But if you have optimized steps, so that's the way your RPA gonna perform well. And then capture all the possible conditions and rules. Like I said, RPA runs based on predefined rules. So you need to concentrate more on how do you define these rules in a good way that it's not going to break your system. So like I said, um, we try we try to achieve 95% or 99% of automation by bringing in all the possible conditions that RPA would come across, and then capture anomalies and engage human interaction. Like I said, where the robots or bots could not handle, we need to involve humans. So you need to define, yes, whenever these conditions are not met, reach out to human for answering customer or answering or handling the scenario. Then add scope for self-learning, machine learning, and NLP, natural language processing. Like I said, some of the use case you may not need these complex features or cognitive RPAs, but definitely in some cases it's worth to add. Like I said, a chatbot, if you configure your chatbot with a set of 10 questions, what it do is always answer the 10 questions. But if it has the ability to understand the AI based machine learning or natural language processing, if the 11th question, which is not there in the rule, is posted by the user, you would try to get the answer for it. So that will give a better experience to the user. But like I said, it can be added. These cognitive RPAs shall be deployed where needed, not in all the cases. So literally for a predictive maintenance scenario, you know that all the possible error codes from the sensors. So you can define using a process automation. You don't need a machine learning capability here. So that is how you decide what kind of RPA you put into for your specific use case. And then you always have to plan scalability for unpredicted traffic, because these are all software-based robots which are running in a computer or a server. So what happens if your computer is failing? So you need to fail back to another computer and start processing it. So in order to have uh, zero outage in your application. So plan scalability for unpredicted traffic. So that's the next point. Then to come up with a good test suite for RPA, like I said, an RPA should be tested thoroughly before deploying into production. For the purpose, in order to reduce RPA goes wrong and many other manual issues. So then the next prerequisite would be plan for periodic maintenance and ongoing support. Like I say, you define your RPA with 95% accuracy, and you have assumed that you have 30 rules for your RPA to work effectively. So by periodic maintenance, you pick up the new rules which your RPA failed and which went to human, and add those constantly part of your rule set, so that your RPA is going to handle that as well. So this way, you are constantly upgrading your RPA's skill set in order to handle the new scenarios that it come across. So the key benefits of RPA would be it's improve, like the reason for moving into RPA is accuracy. It's less error prone because it's less human involvement, and consistency. The first run and the 100th run is going to run in the same way. So when your RPA runs for the first time, it produces an output A. Assume that for input data A, it produces an output X. Even during the 100th run for the input data A, it will produce output X. So the consistency is there. But if you employ human workforce, there is a chance for manual errors as well. So you cannot expect employee one work like an employee two. So they both come across a different skill set. They both come across a different mindset. So, but with respect to humans, because they are good at, with respect to machines, they are good at following a set of steps, predefined steps. Then of course, cost reduction, because you don't need to have humans doing all these manual activities. So you are literally reducing an ongoing operational cost because your machines are doing the purpose. So of course, it involves a one-time set, manufacturing cost or production cost for setting up this RPA, but it's all compared to human output, it's all very less. So, and then high productivity. So like I said, when you increase the machinery, you always have to configure in your RPA. You don't need to increase your RPA capability. Maybe if your RPA is running on a server which is not capable of hosting 100 instances of RPA, you may need to uplift the server. That's a one-time activity, but you don't need to involve humans when there is a huge number of machines added in your production unit. So that's the advantage of going for RPA. And then of course for the IT organization or person who look in the IT role, one of the benefits would say it's not involving any coding skills, so anybody can learn it. It's like a drag and drop feature, so it's always easy for you to learn this and implement. And like I said, these are the current RPA softwares in the market are highly scalable. So some of them even cloud based, so you don't need to bother at all if there is an outage or anything. You just define your RPA rule and kickstart. So what happens to the server, you don't bother at all, because the cloud capability makes sure if your current server is gone down, it actually failed over your RPA to another server and continue processing. So those are all some of the key benefits of RPA I could think of. And like I say, in terms of IoT, it's a decreased asset repair and maintenance cost, because being able to model asset behavior, you can predict and eliminate defects and errors, before they go into the the critical level for the machine to shut down. And then which of course improve the machine's productivity, because you are cutting down the downtime by a periodic maintenance and periodic servicing. And then improved compliance with regulatory and industry standards, because real-time monitoring, we are doing a real-time monitoring here, which humans cannot do. Because if there is a human and you need to have 24/7 support, you need to employ 3 persons to monitor your machinery. But here now RPA round the clock can monitor and collect the data and feed it. So it's always beneficial than human involvement. And then of course the monitoring capability of RPAs, which are more efficient than human. When a human goes and validate a system, he may miss some of the checks as well, machine. But RPA would not, because the sensors would collect all the relevant data from the machinery and feed it to RPA. RPA will never miss any data there. So that's the advantage or key benefits of RPA in the IoT. So now in this section, we will move on to opportunities for RPA and RPA challenges, RPA impact on people and job, and RPA software tools. So I think I'm running out of time, but I'll quickly go through and cover it off. So opportunities, I could think of human resource, finance, accounting, IoT, many other industries where many good work business process could be automated. Like I said, in IoT, because other industries I'm not covering here, but I'm covering an IoT here. Transportation and logistics, you can cover where is your stock level is now within the transport. You can track your vehicles, you can track your inventory management, asset tracking. So many of the companies inventory managements are now involving IoT sensors and RPAs for managing. So you would exactly track where your inventories are. Let's take an IT organization. You're buying hundreds of or thousands of laptops and giving to individual employees. So you need to know as an inventory management who is owning what asset. So this is, if you maintain a manual record or a system, it's going to be a challenge. It's all controlled by the RPA-based automation. There it tracks as soon as who owns it, and if it is a faulty or if there is an issue with the system, all that. If there is a service due for that particular appliance, all these are some of the IoT use cases which I could think of. Now, moving on to RPA challenges. So as soon as covering the RPA challenge, I imagine in the Indran movie, I just recall there was a song where the Chitti Robo will actually throw the child up and down. So it's because that's a great, that's a kind of funny scene I could think of, because you need to define what need to be automated by RPA. So you cannot see a manual activity to be assume that holding the child is always a manual activity. But when you imagine if robots does that, it's gonna it won't know really how to. So that's just an example I thought. So these bots the robots or software process can go crazy if your business process or rules fails. So you need to concentrate and clearly put a clearly structured rule for your RPA to work. And another point is your RPA should be tested thoroughly to avoid any race condition in production. So first point is robots or software robots can go crazy if the set of rules that you come up with is broken. So like I said, the second point is anomalies. So we really know not all the scenarios could be programmed. So like I said, we strive to achieve 95% of automation, but remaining we go to the manual. So clearly you define at what level you need to contact a human. So that is something clearly should be defined in an RPA. Then in IT organization, there was an employee resistance to adapt RPA because they have a fear of losing their job. So that's something resisting, but I'll cover in the next slide because it's not going to replace the entire human workforce. And then governance became a headache. So if you have more bots developed without any common standard or architecture, you end up having independent bots running different purpose, and maintaining or managing these bots is a challenge always. And infrastructure issues, like I said, the latest cloud feature is avoiding or stopping this, providing a good pick for the infrastructure issues, because you don't need to bother about your infrastructure. But maintenance of RPA, you always need a human to maintain these RPAs, like patch the software, patch the rules within RPA. And another point is there are some systems there are some business process which we cannot automate at all. It has to be done by humans. So these are all the challenges I could think of. And then RPA impact on people, definitely it is not going to replace the entire knowledge IT workers. They will be redeployed in more advanced tasks. So 10-15 years back, there was no role called data scientist, machine learning specialist, or these are all some of the roles created in 3-4 years back. So it's just not there in 15 years back. Similar way, down the line 5 years back, there will be roles specific to RPA, there will be roles specific to machine learning capability. So I always prefer that RPA is not going to replace the entire human workforce. We need people to define this RPA. We need people to manage and maintain this RPA. We need people for coming up with the human interaction or cognitive ability for these RPAs in order to face the real world scene. And then I would say human plus digital workers equal to a hyper productive workforce. So moving on to the next one. So in the industry, what all we have as an RPA software? We have UiPath, Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere. These are all some self-learning tools. Anybody can learn based on some YouTube tutorials. So one of the tools will be selected for our RPA based on the license cost, of course, and ability to interact with multiple systems and API integration interaction, ability to make decisions, quick to market, the low development time. So among the three, I would go for UiPath because it provides a community version for any learners to self-learn. So you don't need a license, formal license for UiPath in order to perform your learning exercises. But like I said, when you deploy for a company or an organization for anything that you develop, UiPath has a limitation. You need to buy their business version or enterprise version. So these are all the widely used RPA tools in the industry. And the basic concepts of UiPath. So I said before, RPA is a robotic process. It's like a software process. It's not a physical thing. So these software process are defined or designed as like a workflow, which we saw, process developers, controller, and all. So UiPath, the current screen that shows how your workflow would look like, which is designed based on a UiPath. So mainly UiPath has got, it's a very easy tool to learn, but it has got four main features, which I thought I'll cover it here. So you could easily pick up for your learning. Recording is like, assume that you come across a scenario where you would not be able to model that using a flow. So what you want the computer or UiPath software to do is follow whatever you're doing and then replay. So in a machine or in a desktop machine, you just click the record button UiPath, and then you're opening your Gmail, you're picking up an email, you're getting the latest, then you are going to Amazon, you're going to buy something, and then you're going to reply back in the email saying that what you purchased. So this entire things, when you do it, the UiPath controller or UiPath software would follow the entire and will come up with the flow like this. And when you replay the flow, it would do the exact thing. So it has got a good feature. Within 30-40 minutes, you can develop your workflow for going and checking your email and then going to Amazon, buying something, and then replying back. So this can be done quickly. So by the recording feature within UiPath. And the next features would be screen scrapping. Like I said, so you have a specific use case where you need to go to a retail store and get all the products and their cost and send it to the user. This is your use case, assume that. So if a human is involved, he'll open up the retail website, pick up every product and store it in a Excel sheet with the price of it. So result is, if there is 1,000 product, you need to scroll each page and do just monotonous task, and it is it's a painful task. But the features, screen scrapping and data scrapping, these are two features. Screen scrapping is mainly for a desktop application to open your application and run, whereas data scrapping is like you can choose a specific pixel within the screen and collect the data and store it. So these two good features of UiPath will help you to extract this data in real world and store it in your system or in your databases. And then user events, like I said, user events are those mouse events or keyboard events. As when a user in the server or a machine, key in hello, then your RPA will trigger and which will respond, hi, welcome. So you've seen Amazon Alexa, IBM Watson, Amazon Alexa, and Siri. Those are some of the best examples of RPAs or cognitive process automation, which actually interacts with the user for their queries. And then the another feature of RPA is variables. Variables like a connectors. So as you know, in the flow you have n number of steps. So how do you manage the state of step 1 until step n? So assume that in the first step you're collecting some data, you're storing it in a variable, And in the following steps, you can always refer those variables to process the data. So variables are like a mediator or connector between the workflow. And then I think that's all I have. I think I covered pretty much everything. I have one more slide added, mainly to give you the students. This is not something for us staffs. So in order to have your career in IT RPA developer role, what all you need? Like I said, it doesn't involve a coding. It's like a drag and drop feature. You would have seen the UiPath screen, right? So for every, you can search a feature, read email, and there will be a icon shown. You can just drag and drop and configure it. So your workflow would work just reading an email by using this. So simple. It doesn't involve a complex coding, but you need to have an understanding of various systems. Like I said, what your retail systems, what technology they use, how do you interact with those informations are needed, but you don't need a complex coding skills for developing your RPA and RPA career. And then try to analyze the business process and design automation around. So in real world, you will come across many business process. So you should have an understanding and an analyzing skills of this business process, which you would be able to, put it into steps which you could automate easily. And then develop an understanding, like a deeper understanding of these tools, like I say, RPA tool, which is in the market, which is easy to acquire as well. And then get some hands-on experience so that you can always get it. Then understand how to integrate various systems. Like I said, having the knowledge of various systems, you can easily integrate with your RPA software. Then do it, develop small RPA software, resource process automation for a small cases. Like I said, reading your email and responding to user. And then like small use cases, you can pick it up and learn. And then you can integrate with more complex use cases, which involves IoT and other real-time sensors. So that's all I have. And I thank you for all the opportunity. And this is how an IoT industry would look like in down the line 2-3 years. So IoT data, AI, which is the artificial intelligence capability within RPA, and then the small amount of. So please feel free to raise your question. We'll be happy to answer. So I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer all the questions, but I'll try my best.
Thank you, Judge, for the wonderful session. There are some questions in the chat box, so which is asked by the participants. The first question is, what is the cost of robotic automation tool?
Yeah, sure. So UiPath, because I worked on UiPath, other two are mainly for company licenses, but UiPath cost you around license cost you around $4,000, $3,500 to $4,000. So even for a smaller organization can use that. So that's the cost of an RPA software.
The next question, which RPA tool is best, and does RPA needs coding? What language does they use for coding?
Yeah, it's a very good question, really. So RPA, like I said, out of three, based on a condition and based on their ability to interact with applications, you can choose. For example, if UiPath doesn't have a plugin to read a real-time sensor data, so for your IoT related use case, you won't pick UiPath. You'll go for Blue Prism or any other tools. So the tools are chosen based on their ability for your business process. That's a point number one. Second thing is, like I said, it doesn't involve much of coding, but like I said, every tool has got a limitation, right? So you are searching for a functionality, a plugin, which is not present in UiPath or Blue Prism. So they always provide you an capability to develop your own that functionality in any of the programming language. For example, Python or Java, something like you can create those models like using this language, and then you can integrate with your robotic softwares. So for the functionalities where you don't find a plugin, inbuilt plugin, you always can very well develop using your own coding. So like I said, as far as I know, UiPath has got support to other tools, languages like that. So Blue Prism, and I have a high overview, but I'm not having in-depth knowledge of Blue Prisms.
Next one, Can you suggest few RPA projects for undergraduate students?
Okay. Like, I mean, there was a one slide where I was covering the opportunities. So let's take maybe for students, I would say this finance. In an IT organization, we have a not payroll processing, expense reporting. So in most of the IT organization, we have this is a very, very simple use case. That's why I'm highlighting here. So an IT organization where companies are actually processing the bills manually, but now we can have this RPA based software developed, which would, as soon as a user raise an expense, it can validate the bill, check the bill, and then it notifies user whether they can approve or not. So those kind of, there is a slide where I will show you what all the business use cases you can go through. So for answering that question. So finance and accounting, let me go through. Yeah. So banking, if you going for a banking project, you can do a mortgage lending, compliance reporting, customer service, tax. For in the tax department, you can say tax calculation, refund processing. In healthcare industry, if you're doing some projects, you can always do this, claim processing as a complete automate. Now it is manual activity, but you can do it very well as a um, automated way using RPA. Yeah.
Next one, best course and course provider for RPA, that is certification related to RPA.
Yeah, course, I think Edureka has got some good learning materials, and they have some certification courses as well. But in terms of certification, UiPath has got a certification, and Blue Prism has got a certification. Blue Prism is a widely used across companies. It has got a huge features. Majority of the companies are using it, like Accenture, Cognizant, and all. So it is also quite easy to learn, but having a certification on all this would add a value. So yeah.
So, what is the difference between RPA and macros and scripting?
Very good. Yeah, so sure. So when you have a shell script or anything, you're making sure you're trying to automate a business use cases here. But shell script has got, and macros has got their own limitations, right? A macro cannot go and interact with an external system. As like I say, a shell script, if you run it, you need to involve a complex code in order to interact with one of the email server. Whereas RPA just give you a plug and play. You just grab it and configure it. It is going to check emails. So scripting and macros involves huge pseudocodes or the more number of coding involved, whereas RPA doesn't involve. But in terms of you can automate a set of functions using a scripting and one macro, but RPA also can cover wide range of things.
How far it will be safe in healthcare?
Yeah, I think I had this question before as well in my other presentation. Like I said, in healthcare industry, RPA is, like I said, software-based RPA mainly used for providing a comprehensive report based on the previous data and providing suggestions definitely. So it is always safe, I would say, because we are not involving this RPA-based process in terms of in the real world machines. We are not suggesting the machines to do something. So in healthcare industry, this now, because it involves a huge compliance and other issues as well. So they mainly use RPA in healthcare for producing reports and suggestions. And maybe down the line, the cognitive features of RPA would enable this into more secure way of helping the healthcare professionals for performing their activity. But at the moment, it's all mostly providing a report and high-level informations of specific use cases. It doesn't provide any machinery interaction or operation or anything.
Okay, thank you, Josh. So it is the time for give the vote of thanks. I request Ms. Jennifer, Assistant Professor of IT Department, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity given. I wish
On
everyone.
behalf of
Yeah, sorry. I missed that. So when I said all the students, good luck, and I hope you get something out of the session. And I pray for your bright future. And we are all in a very, very difficult situation. The whole world is, we all know. But like I said, there will be opportunities open up, and have that constant drive to achieve in your respective industries. Focus on, and hope things will open up for you. I pray God for that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of the Department of CSE and IT, I would thank the management, administrator, and principal for the opportunity to conduct this webinar. Special thanks to Mr. George Francis for spending his time and sharing his knowledge and experience about robotics process. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to all the participants from various colleges. Once again, thank you all for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. Stay home, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Take care.